Right, hello. In this video today, we are going to be trying to make a glitchy, dark, Autechre type loop, completely based off of their track Garbagemx or Garbagemx off of their Garbage EP. Now, this video isn't as close as I'd like it to be to the original track, but I still think it fits the same vibe. You know, it's dark, it's got some glitchy stuff, it's got very ambient pads with weird, glitchy percussion over the top of it. I mean, you can hear it in the background now, so there you go. I also have a Existential Crisis in the middle of this video, so if you want to stick around for that, go for it. This video came out a week earlier on my Patreon. If you can subscribe to my Patreon, I'd really appreciate that. However, if not, that's absolutely fine. All the project files will always be in the description of my videos. It's just that there's extra stuff on my Patreon. You know, samples, drum breaks. I'm currently doing a series on how to write an IDM track and all that good stuff. But, you know, if you can't, I still appreciate you coming to watch this video anyway. However, thank you to my Patreons. Here you all are. I really appreciate all of your help. It genuinely means a lot to me. And yeah, so let's get into some Autechre stuff. I wanted to do this video because I'm going to see Autechre in a couple of weeks. Alright, cool. And I think, if I remembered the dates right, this video came out on Halloween, so... Ooh, spooky ghosts and ghouls and glitches. So first off, we're going to be trying to make the chord stabbing synth that's kind of in the background throughout the whole track. So we're going to grab a wavetable. We're going to keep the preset pretty simple, in all honesty. So the main thing to this sound is finding a very big digital oscillator and using the unison noise and really hamming it up pretty much all the way. Get that really kind of big sound. Bring that filter down a bunch too. And just with my computer keyboard, I found this chord, which I think suits exactly what I want. So we're going to draw that in. And just edit the synth a little bit. Change the envelopes. Map. I believe we mapped the wave position to LFO1. Oh yeah, here I'm doing that. And that is way too much. Yeah, we just want a quite dark, evolving pad, a bit spooky. Oh, I guess it is Halloween. Or it is when I'm uploading this anyway. But as you can tell, I'm not doing any, like, exact parameters with this synth. I'm just trying to make it big, dark, and yeah. And now we're adding an echo to the end of it, because anytime a chord is triggered, obviously there'll be an echo. We're keeping it at a synced rate so we can kind of play with the rhythm of that echo afterwards. We're also bringing in another oscillator and making sure that envelope 2 is acting as a filter envelope, because that's another big part of the sound, I think. Now I'm just editing a few more things. Still a bit indecisive about what oscillators I want, and just seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And this is what we end up with, which I think sounds big and dark enough. So now we're going to actually try to make some rhythms with this pad, especially playing off the echo. Just drawing 16ths somewhere. You can be quite random about this. But we want it to play off that echo device, like I said earlier. And have it sound quite syncopated and groovy, you know? So just extending this to a 2-bar loop, adding in some more chords, just messing around with the synth again because it's not sounding quite right. Then we're going to add an auto filter, but switch it around with our echo so it comes before the echo. Change your LFO waveform to a sample and hold and bring your filter quite far down and your resonance up. I would say a quarter to 3/4 of the way, maybe. And anyway, we're going to have our LFO time be synced. And just scroll through to see which one suits your track best. I settled with 8th notes. I'm also going to bring the filter and the resonance up a little bit because it's blocking out a bit too much of the pad. Now, the changes are quite sudden, so we're just going to smooth it out with this control here. Oh, yeah, like that resonant-y echo then was really nice to kind of sound like a woodblock. So we're also just going to draw in that duophonic chord 1 octave up, just so there's a bit of difference going on in that 2 bars worth of MIDI. But, you know, I think that sounds quite nice and has the same vibe as the original track. Next, we're going to make that very big sub bass, you know. Anyway, we're going to use a triangle waveform, slight bit of attack, and a bit of FM from our second oscillator, and then just draw in those 2 notes. Oh yeah, that sounds dark and monstrous. Now, that is way too long, so we're going to shorten both notes a little bit and change them because I don't like how they sound. And I'm realizing that the note I want isn't in our scale, so I'm just going to switch the scale, and that still fits with our chords. So, happy days. Then we're going to add a bit of spread to our bass, which, you know, I know doesn't make sense usually, but it's an Autechre style track. Who cares if it makes sense? But we are going to mono some of those bass frequencies later. I'm just going to extend that second note too, so it fills up 1 bar worth. Now, I know this bass loop is 3 bars, and I shorten it to something even more odd in a minute. But I just want to let you know that later on in the video I do switch it to a 2-bar loop because I didn't like the polymeters. So that's what we've got, which I think is quite nice. It's you know, it's the same kind of feel as the original track, right?
I think so.
Thank you. Okay, also, with the echo on the wavetable chords, if you have it, or if you can buy it, I'd really recommend Native Instruments Replica XT, because the diffusion setting on it is absolutely gorgeous. And anytime I want something to have a bit of Autechre ambience to it, I always use this. It's really nice, and you can get some really, really fine controls and pannings of different echoes and whatever, and it's really nice. I think it's quite old now, so it might be cheap, I don't know. I bought this years ago. Anyway, another little track. This is just a sine wave going through an echo as well. It's very simple. Here it is. And yeah, we're just going to add in some little notes. These are going to be a polymeter. I did this because in the original track, you can kind of hear little resonances that are in key. They're going to be very quiet in the mix because they're just there to kind of hold it up. And anyway, this next bit is something I really like doing. We're going to get a meld and draw in 1 simple chord, and that is it. Then we're going to go through all the different oscillators in Meld, and the only 4 things we're going to use is the oscillators, an amp envelope, the mod envelope, and the filter, and that is it, right? And you're just going to want to go through and kind of make small patches. So there's our first one. Let's bounce it to a new track, and then you've got it as a sample. So let's make another 3, and this is how little work I put into doing this bit. They just need to sound kind of nice. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just editing 4 things there. There's 1, another one, and another one. And they're all bounced to audio. So then, go grab a sampler, drop it into your session, click zone on your sampler, highlight anything you've just bounced out from Meld, drag it into the sampler zone, click on the cell button or sample select, right click and distribute ranges equally. When you right click, make sure everything else is highlighted. Then in your filter/global menu, turn down time to velocity, make your envelope plucky. We're going to use the time to velocity later, but anyway. Then go grab an expression control, change it from modulate to remote, go to the random option, and map it to your sample selector head, that little blue highlighted thing. And And now every time a note is triggered, it will select maybe a different sample that you've put in there. Very nice. And now, because we did time to velocity, drag in a random velocity MIDI effect. Make sure it's before the expression control. Okay. And now, because there's random velocity, it's changing the envelope shape too. It's getting shorter and longer, and it builds a natural groove, if that makes sense, like here. See how some notes are really short and some notes are a bit longer or whatever? Anyway, draw in some 16ths and turn the probability down a bit in that menu. Whack them with a glue compressor. And yeah, I think that adds a nice little layer. It's a bit generative, a bit computer music-y. I think it sounds good. And that one chord complements everything else so far. So now I'm just going through each sample in the zone and adjusting its volume and panning. The volumes just so they're all a bit more equal, and the panning just so there's a bit of space. Then I'm grabbing a hybrid reverb. Doesn't matter how you do this. Doesn't really matter how you do any of this. You don't have to do this.
Music is a completely intangible art form, man. If every therapist needs a therapist, then who's the therapist's therapist? How tall is Danny Sapko? Do Boards of Canada actually have VHS tapes, or do they just do YouTube rips? What the fuck does Aphex mean? Is Ben Jordan Venus Theory's dad? What is Ned even in a rush for?
Oh my god, I'm having a crisis. Anyway, yeah, I like big spaces. Change the EQ a little bit, bring out the highs. Then group it with itself. Bring in a compressor. And then open up the compressor's menu, click external, and have the input be this track, but pre-effects. So now the dry signal is compressing, we're getting sidechain compression from the dry signal. So whenever something dry comes in, it brings down the effects volume. It's just so it doesn't get too muddy. I don't know, you probably know this stuff, but we're also grabbing a delay with it as well, with a high feedback. Because again, whenever a signal comes in, it dips down. Then we're grouping it all again, so we can have one effects chain and one dry chain. And can you hear how the effects are swelling in after the dry signal has come through? Then just rename it to effects and dry. And now, yeah, if I solo this, you should really be able to hear the compression working overtime. Yeah, you can hear how the effect dips down in volume whenever the dry signal comes through. Anyway, let's do some drums, glitchy stuff. Operator, sine wave fixed, low frequency, no sustain, quick decay, same with the pitch envelope, turn the filter off, done. Then this is a trick I like to do with my analog synths, but we're going to use wavetable. So get a high pass filter, so it's really up there and mosquito-y. And then start going mental with your LFOs, make them super fast, map them to the pitch, map them to other bits, do crazy stuff. It's not that crazy, I know, but you know, just start experimenting. But I think it's really good to have a very high pass filter on there. So yeah, we're mapping it to our pitch and a different LFO to our wavetable position. And now it's almost sounding like the glitch from the original track. I really like that sound, so we're going to resample that. And then we're going to bring it into a simpler, into our drum machine. So we can, you know, trigger it like it's a drum. And now if you go into your audio effects utilities and align delay, just drag up one of those channels so you get that big wide stereo effect without it sounding too chorusy or something. There we are, we're starting to get a bit of an Autechre vibe. You know, it's getting there. So now we're going to make another glitch in the exact same way. High passed wavetable, map stuff to fast LFOs, resample it. Now we're going to drag that into a sampler, not a simpler. And we're going to do the same time to velocity trick that we did with our chords. So here's our sound at the minute. Very short, but obviously when we drag it longer, it sounds almost like an open hi-hat. Pan to random time. And then grab your random velocity MIDI effect again. And now it should kind of sound like a kind of groove with a closed and open hi-hat. Alright, so now we're going to just do that clap sound that they have throughout a lot of the drum track. Just going to use an 808 clap. Make sure volume to velocity is all the way up. And make sure your envelope again is quite short. And then, as you can see, we're ramping the velocity. And then just making a simple 1-bar pattern. I think that's pretty good. We're also going to just slightly low pass it, just so it sounds a bit, I don't know, shittier. Okay, so here we're going to make an FM snare, and this really is just trial and error. Just start FM and a bunch of stuff together. There are only sine waves in this. And just change your frequencies, and I always used fixed frequencies when doing this kind of stuff. That sounds good, so we're going to do it on every 2 and 4. We're also going to add a drum synth kick, which comes with Ableton. There's not really much you can edit with the drum synth stuff. So we've just got it being quite snappy and making sure it's different to our operator kick we made earlier. And then compress all of those together. I believe I've chucked a redux on the master as well, just to make it sound a bit more old. And here it is. So I know this isn't a perfect copy of Autechre, but it's got the right vibe, and I hope you enjoyed the video.